Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi, on Love 99.5 FM. We're on over 30 affiliates dotted across Ghana's 16 regions. We're on Sun City Radio in Keta, Dreams FM and A1 Radio in Bolgatanga. We're on ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrade and Volta Premier in Hull. We're live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook and myjoyonline.com interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. This afternoon, we focus on the seeming disagreement between government and individual bondholders on how the domestic debt restructuring should proceed. While the holders want total exemption, we focus on cutting expenditure. The government is determined to protect the vulnerable.
It's looking at restructuring a debt of what 1/3. So if you really want to save interest burden, you actually also look at saving other parts of your entire budget.
But we'll find a way to get a formula, that protects the most vulnerable and ensures that we still end up being able to secure an agreement with the fund.
And speak of the vulnerable, we have a special report on a 77-year-old investor desperate to receive coupon payments to buy medication.
So the only thing I have decided to do was to go to the bank on the 23rd to go to the bank there. If they say the money is not there, I'm going to stay there until they carry me wherever they want to carry me.
Plus, political marketing and risk analysts are warning of dire consequences for the electoral fortunes of the governing NPP if it fails to amend the program to suit the middle class.
It is a huge issue for the NPP administration because at least before they came to power, we knew haircut only from the barbershop.
We'll tell you more as negotiations between government and bondholders enter day 2 later today. And remodeling of the Tete-Kwashi interchange, reconstruction of the Tema motorway with 4 interchanges among works set to start to ease traffic on the Tema N1 stretch.
Some of the lanes will go up to 10, 5 on the other side. There will be another interchange at the Fiesta Royal Hotel.
Also this afternoon, National Health Insurance Authority owes service providers 7 months of unpaid claims in excess of 2 billion cedis. But has the scheme been quoting a wrong law to hold on to claims payment?
Honorable Chair, the law gives us 3 months.
Regulation 38 requires that a claim or payment of health service submitted to the scheme shall be paid within 4 weeks.
Honorable Chair, let me withdraw the 3 months.
We have details of that. An individual interest cannot override the collective interest of the project. That's the response from the National Cathedral Secretariat to the presiding bishop of the Lighthouse Group of Churches, Bishop Dagiwood Mills. Stay with me, I have details of that. In sports,
it's a make or break tie for Ghana as the Black Galaxies face Sudan in the CHAN tournament later today.
And later in the bulletin, imagine the impressive rhythmic rap of Sarkodie on a track with reggae icon Bob Marley. Details of that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please stay for details. So your company, we're digging now, and there's a seeming disagreement between individual bondholders and government on how the domestic debt restructuring program should proceed. In fact, listening to the finance minister and the individual bondholders, one cannot help but notice the clear entrenched positions as the second round of talks take off later today. After an initial meeting with the bondholders, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta announced that a technical committee comprising 2 representatives of the holders and government will continue with the discussion today. Listen.
So the engagement would be continued to make sure that we all understand where we are and what we have to do to go forward. And as you indicated, get in the common path. As you mentioned, for us to be here to enjoy the future. You indicated that we must signal to the country that we can indeed circle the wagons and work within our limitations, but ensure that we all come out ahead somewhat, even with our limited resources. So once again, let me emphasize that indeed the program that we have is voluntary. What do we all have to do to be able to put our shoulders to the hill? And some are more vulnerable than others, and therefore and some will contribute more than others. But we'll find a way to get a formula, that protects the most vulnerable and ensures that we still end up being able to secure an agreement with the fund in a way in which we'll have an orderly adjustment to our macros, our physical, and build a stronger country.
So that's the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, talking about the voluntary nature of the program and finding a formula that protects the most vulnerable in society. This is an issue we'll interrogate shortly. But the individual bondholders walked out from that meeting with the understanding that exemption will be granted and that the technical committee scheduled for today's meeting will focus on cutting down costs while granting the exemption. Martin Pebu is with the forum.
The minister has agreed to set up a technical committee for us to look at the budget and see how to create space so that individual bondholders will be exempt from the program. You say, and so that is a quantum leap. So we went there to just go tell him that no, we think there is enough space in the budget to take care of individual bondholders. That is to say, government should cut down on expenditure. We thought it was a simple message to just give, but he turned around and said, "Oh, times are hard, blah, blah, blah." But at the end of the day, he sees our point. Okay, so then come and sit down. Let's do the exercise together. So, asking us to come and contribute to the exercise, I think it's good. Participatory democracy is good.
Well, that's Martin Pebu there. But let me bring in Professor Godfred Bokpeng. He's an economist. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So listening to the Finance Minister, I hear him talk about the fact that we need to get a formula that protects the vulnerable. But do you get the sense that you're going to get an exemption or simply an amendment?
Good afternoon, Emefa, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. I think that it's a good sign that the government is willing to engage. Certainly, what one can deduce from the posture of the minister is that the debt exchange, as it was announced and amended, will certainly be amended. I'm sure it will get to a point where both parties will have to make some compromises. Government missed the point at the beginning when they chose to impose a haircut and also a style on everyone. And certainly, the style will not fit everyone. And the minister has admitted. Good news. But I am a bit concerned in terms of the approach that the various creditor groups have adopted in one way or the other. Because when you negotiate in silos, chances are that we may miss the overall goal. What would have been more helpful would have been for the domestic creditors to have a unified front that allows them to negotiate from position of strength and to see how together we can push for bigger and deeper expenditure cuts. That is possible.
Okay. Well, this is an issue that I will interrogate further since the meeting is entering day 2. But from where you sit, is it workable between now and January 31 for the budget to be amended to make room for that possibility of granting a total exemption or otherwise for the holders?
Oh, no, it's possible. Some revisions can be made. In fact, in 2022, after the budget was presented, government announced additional measures, which also involve some expenditure cuts. Okay, so that can be done. And I think what is important is to look at the overall goal. To what end? To have an IMF program. So if that is the case, and government is able to secure the buy-in of the various creditors, that they are on board in terms of the restructuring and all of that, yes, we are working towards the end goal. The details can be worked out. Yeah.
We're grateful for your time, Professor Godfred Bopping. Subsequently, we'll get to interact more on this. He's an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. Professor Godfred Bopping, thank you once again. Well, 77-year-old retiree Peter Kojo Sepe, who cannot walk unassisted, is worried he may not survive if the government fails to listen to the plea of individual bondholders and exempt them from the debt exchange program. Peter says failure to receive a coupon this year would mean death because he can't afford a prostate, diabetes, and high blood pressure medications. Features editor Jojo Kobina caught up with him at his residence in Teshi. Here's his report.
When I heard that, now, we are not going to get any coupon or any interest until 2027, before they'll give you 5% of your capital. I said, wow, 77-year-old. Now, how many years? How long has God given me?
Peter Kojo Sepe is 77. Currently, his blood pressure is rising due to an investment that was meant to make him smile. He became agitated upon hearing that individual bondholders will be included in a debt exchange program. He lost more than 250,000 cedis in a Ponzi scheme, so this forced him to choose government bonds as a safe investment. On January 23, he is scheduled to receive his coupon, but is unsure whether he will.
There is no plan and there's nothing I can sell anymore. And there's nothing I can sell. So the only thing I have decided to do was to go to the bank on the 23rd, to go to the bank there and sit down there because if I go, how am I going home? I have to go home with a car. I need fuel. When I come home I have to pay for the water bill, electricity bill, food, and the money is there in the bank. So I give the money to the Ghana Commercial Bank. So they will give me the money before I come home. If they say the money is not there, I'm going to stay there.
That's Jojo Kobina's report. Now, political marketing strategist Dr. Kobi Mensah believes the NPP's electoral fortunes will be negatively affected by the debt restructuring and its impact on Ghanaians.
If you look at their perceived performance, so for example, let's say expectations, perceived performance is 5, expectations was 10. If you minus the perceived performance 5 from the expectation 10, what do you get? Currently, if you ask me, it is a huge issue for the NPP administration, because at least before they came to power, we knew haircut only from the barbershop. All right, I am sure quite a lot of people did not know anything about debt restructuring, unless, of course, you were a finance student or you were a banking person.
Well, we can hear from political risk analyst Dr. Thiwe Champong, who shares this concern and believes amending the policy to suit citizens is the surest way of minimizing the impact.
The current debt restructuring exercise in the form that the government is seeking to push, should that go through, would actually leave people, as we know, worse off. And politically, when people are worse off and they are angry, of course, they will protest that with a vote. Therefore, that's why you see the likes of Chimin Sabonsu and other people within the party now saying, look, hang on, this thing, if we're not too careful, is actually going to bounce back or bite us back quite strongly. So yes, there's actually going to be a huge political consequence as a result of this restructuring exercise.
That's Dr. Thiwe Champong. He's a political risk analyst. They're speaking on PM Express. This is the Midday News. We turn our attention to some other stories. After several shifts in start dates, we're told that work will soon start on the Tema Motorway reconstruction project, comprising expansion of the motorway, remodeling of the Tetekwashi interchange, and 4 interchanges on the Tema N1 stretch. Roads Minister Kwesi Amoakwata says challenges associated with the project have been resolved and soon contractors will commence work. He was responding to questions of the Public Accounts Committee.
And it's a major work, because the motorway itself between Accra and Tema is going to have as many as 4 interchanges at various sessions, and it will go, some of the lanes will go up to 10, 5 on the other side, and it will lead, the same project will lead to the remodeling of the Tetekwashi interchange, to deal with the current traffic situation being experienced at the mall area. There will be another interchange at the Fiesta Royal Hotel there, that traffic light to deal with the traffic situation there. And the Penkwa Bridge is also going to be remodeled under the same program.
Well, the minister also announced ongoing program with the national security to address vandalism of traffic lights in the country.
We have serious problem with that. As much as we try to improve on the traffic light situation, so we have started introducing cameras, at these points. And that national security is also mounting cameras at different places. So we appeal to the security agencies in particular and the general public, that if we see some unpatriotic criminal elements among us, all of us must support us. Because if I tell you the number of people who vandalize these facilities in our country on daily, weekly, monthly basis, it will amaze you.
That's the Roads Minister, Kwesi Amoakwata. We stay at the Public Accounts Committee, and the National Health Insurance Authority has outstanding 7 months of claims to pay service providers, which is in excess of 2 billion cedis. The last claim, according to the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, was paid in April last year when he appeared before the Accounts Committee probing infractions identified by the Auditor General in the 2020 audited accounts of public institutions. The NIA has been using 3 operating schemes to pay service providers, but it turns out the scheme has been using an outdated law. Listen to the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu's engagement with a member of the committee, Kofi Adams.
Reimbursements have been done up to April last year. And this month, we are reimbursing for April last year. So we'll still be left with, May last year. So we still have about 7 months outstanding. And statutorily, we have a 3 months lead time. So what will be outstanding as a debt effectively will be about 4 months outstanding. And we are working on trying to clear these ones as we move along.
Mr. Minister, did you say you have 3 months statutorily, or because the law quoted here, as far as this infraction is concerned, is 4 weeks upon submission?
Honorable Chair, the law gives us 3 months.
What we have here, Regulation 38 of the National Health Insurance Regulation requires that a claim or payment of health service submitted to the scheme shall be paid within 4 weeks after receipt of claims from the healthcare facility, unless there is legal impediment. It doesn't say 3 months. Do you have any other regulation contrary to Regulation 38?
Honorable Chair, let me withdraw the 3 months. Because, like myself, we have been working on the 3-month basis for a very, very, very long time. And the Parent Health Insurance Act actually says the 3 months. Now, after the amendment of the Act, I think that is what resulted in this regulation.
Well, let me take you live to the Public Accounts Committee. Apart from the Health Ministry, we're told also that the Ministry of Roads, Agric and Trade, they've all been there. And my colleague, James Aveji, is there for us, joins us live. Aveji, bring us up to speed on what we've missed so far.
Okay, so currently as we speak, the Ministry of Interior is before the committee answering some questions raised in that Auditor General's report. But just gone by were the gender ministries and the trade ministry. And in the interaction with the gender ministry, the Public Accounts Committee chair has charged some 2 persons to pay a total of 1,914 Ghana cedis to the GRA. The issue was that the 2 officers were supposed to withhold that amount on some 40,000 Ghana cedis payment made for goods and services under the National Board for Small-Scale Industries office in the Eastern region.
Well, that's my colleague James Aveji. We are told also currently before the committee is the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Kofu Dampare. We can listen live.
own, in the course of the investigation, realized that it was more than the 40,000. It was 190,000. So that 190,000 was brought from Takwa to the CID headquarters, and through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was sent to Cote d'Ivoire, the authorities, for them to authenticate it for us as to its genuineness or otherwise. And that was done, and the results with the accompanying appendix indicate that they were all faked. And this, when they was returned, it was sent back to the team at Takwa from the CID headquarters. Honorable Chair, there has been confusion as to who actually received it and the whereabouts of the money. And when it came to our attention, we have looked at the matter and identified 3 police officers who are involved in the matter. Unfortunately, one of them has resigned from the service, and we are making an effort to look for him and for him to be held accountable. The other 2, one of them is still within the Western region, Takwa Enclave, and the other one in the Ahafo region. All have been interdicted, and the matter has been referred to the Police Professional Standard Bureau to conduct investigation and for us to know the whereabouts of the fake 190,000 CFA francs, and anybody found culpable there was in accordance with law. So, Honorable Chair, that's where we are on the matter. I thank you very much.
That's the Inspector General of Police, George Ekufu-Dampare, accompanied, and he's accompanying the Interior Minister as they appear before the Public Accounts Committee, providing updates on certain cases reported in the Auditor General's report. This is the Midday News. We take a quick break, and we know we are sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. We've been talking about the seeming disagreement between government and individual bondholders on how domestic debt restructuring should proceed. We are entering day 2 of that meeting between government and the bondholders. When we return, we have sports, and then individual interests cannot override the collective interest of the project. That's the response from the National Cathedral Secretariat to the presiding bishop of the Lighthouse Group of Churches, Bishop Dag Heward-Mills. We have more. As the Secretariat says, it is committed to the completion of the project. And later, imagine the impressive rhythmic rap of Sarkodie on a track with reggae icon Bob Marley. Let's do sports on the Midday News. Mubarak, take us away.
Yes, Emefa, let's talk about the ongoing African Nations Championship in Algeria, because the Black Galaxies have their destiny in their hands when they face Sudan in their last match in Group C. This follows their 2-1 defeat to Madagascar in the opener, which leaves them third in the group with 3 points after Morocco pulled out of the competition. Group leaders Madagascar have 6 points. Behind them is Sudan with 3, and the 2 nations will square off in the last fixture. Now, Ghana has no option other than to win against Sudan tonight to guarantee their stay in the competition. Now, Black Galaxies head coach Anna Walker says they will be up to the task.
We lost a game that we never thought of losing. So the other time I told you, we're going back, watch the video, then see where we fall short, where the mistakes are, why we were able to concede 2 goals should enter into our goal, which we have done from Monday up to yesterday evening. I cannot disclose what we have seen and how we're going to approach our game. All I say is we are going in with a different mentality. Since something went wrong, I will definitely make changes. Just 1 or 2 changes.
Black Galaxies head coach Anna Walker. And remember, the game will be live on the Joy Prime channel at 7 p.m. with build-up starting at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much, Mubarak. Now, the Board of Trustees of the controversial National Cathedral project has responded to the presiding bishop of the Lighthouse Group of Churches, Bishop Dag Heward-Mills, over comments made in his resignation letter. According to the board, the respected preacher and all other members of the trusteeship should appreciate that they will not always have their way in decision-making. The bishop in his resignation letter said even though he was a trustee and attended all meetings until his resignation, he was not involved nor privy to discussions on the financial and technical issues concerning the project. Well, there's a response from the Secretariat. Elton Brobe has a copy of it. He joins me in studio. Let's walk through it.
But they say that they'll be very transparent in this matter. The statement says that the challenge of such a group is that individual leaders with a history of implementing their own organizational, denominational programs and vision have to be part of a collective decision-making process where their preferences might not always prevail. Specifically, this means that no one leader can have all their preferences, methods, and approaches accepted. In this changed and unfamiliar context, some will prefer to leave the trusteeship. That's, in summary, is a statement coming from the National Cathedral Secretariat.
Okay, thank you very much, Elton. Now, the director of the Africa Office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Mina Mensah, is calling for an independent fact-finding body to take over investigations of alleged planting of weed and cocaine in a vehicle of a commuter by some policemen. Social media has in the last few days been awash with an audio recording of a person claiming to be Dr. Patrick Esiedu leveling the allegation that the policemen asked to search his vehicle and claimed they found the drugs in it. Then they asked him to pay 20,000 cedis to be set free. After refusing, he was taken to a police station where he gave a statement and later to the Narcotics Control Board. We know there's a statement from the Ghana Police Service on this. Joseph Akable has a copy of that statement to walk us through it, because the police say investigations reveal that the story is false and that it is a total fabrication. Well, human rights activists have been talking about it. Joseph, we have a copy of that statement from the police. What exactly does it say?
Yes, the statement indicates that first they say that they've arrested an individual, and they explain that this person is someone who they believe to be the voice in that audio that went viral, and they go on to say that their investigations have so far showed that he's actually an Uber driver. Okay. And the story that he put out in that particular audio is untrue. Investigations so far have established that a man who has been arrested and is in police custody is indeed called Patrick Esiedu. He's an Uber driver and not a doctor. The supposed military intervention and alleged fight between the police officers and the military described in such dramatic detail in the audio tape are all false and a figment of the suspect's imagination. It goes on to say that in another audio tape that has come to the attention of the police, the suspect alleges to have met with the Inspector General of Police. They wish to categorically state that this claim is also false and should be disregarded.
All right. So, but human rights activist Mina Mensah says the police cannot be investigating itself. A former police officer, also a member of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, Peter Lanchini Tobu, says the police has a duty to thoroughly investigate the issue as it's dealing with the public perception. And just before we go, the Kumasi Mayor, Samuel Sampine, has assured Ketia traders with separate meters to reduce the woes of paying high electricity costs. The traders in Ketia market share a single metering system for business activities, and this comes with a high electricity cost. The traders yesterday locked up their shops over the high cost of electricity after the announcement of another increment in electricity by 29% and water tariff by 8%, which is expected to take effect from 1st February 2023. But the mayor says management has taken the decision to start the installation of separate meters. And that's how we're wrapping up the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. I guess you're waiting for that release of the Stir It Up mix up with featuring Sarkodie. That's Bob Marley's song, and many of you are talking about it already on social media. I'll leave you with that, but there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. You can't have your views accepted always. National Cathedral Board of Trustees tells Bishop Dag also there. Political cost of DDE goes beyond 2024 election loss. That's Dr. Kobe Mensah. And already Sarkodie to feature on Bob Marley's Stir It Up remix. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otabil. I am Emefa Apawu.